Hello, hello. Hey, crafty friends. It's Sandy from Ledoux Designs. And tonight we are going to work on the bridge from this Sassy Club stamp set. So it's this bridge right here. So on Tuesday we talked about it and we decided on the live after we made the Cookie Monster that we were going to work on how to color this bridge right here. So this stamp set is called The Woods, and it has Pooh Bear and Tigger and all the cuties on here. So I've decided that we are going to use Tigger and the Pooh Bear eating his honey, because that's what he's always doing. And then, so we're going to use those two and the bridge. And then this is going to be our sentiment for tonight. This is actually from Whimsy Stamps. It's called the Hello Word and Shadow die set. So we're going to do a background and then cut out the words in different fonts so we can take care of the sentiment that we need for our card. So I'm not going to delay. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I'm going to show you how to mask this to get the characters on the bridge, and then we'll color it, and then I already have all the stuff ready for the card. So we're going to do all of the things tonight. And it's going to take us a bit to do the bridge, so I definitely want to go ahead and get started. So I decided that I would place the card in this direction so I could put the bridge along the bottom. And so whenever you're masking an image, you always want to put whatever you want to be in the foreground. You want to stamp that first and then stamp the other items after that. So I'm going to use our Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to put that on. Oops, well, I'm going to make a mess, but that's okay. Hello, hello. So when you pop on, make sure you say hi. So I know you're there. Otherwise, I just see there are people here, but I don't know who they are. Hey, Angela. Okay. So this is our bridge from the Woods stamp set, which is our Pooh Bear set. And what we're going to do is now we're going to mask it. So what I did before we came online was I stamped this on the masking tape. So there it is. There's our bridge. That's what we're going to color tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Now I have a sticky mat in here and I got ink on the sticky mat. So before we move on, I want to go ahead and wipe that off, just because I don't want it to stain my sticky mat. So if you wipe it off right away, it comes off. It's totally fine. And it's ready for the next thing. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off so I don't make a mess. There we go. And then I'm going to place this out of the way. And I am going to hand stamp using my blocks from the Sassy Club. I love these blocks. But we're going to mask and stamp with the blocks. You could reset your Misty if you wanted to, but in this case, I am just going to do it. I'm just going to hand stamp it. And we're going to hope that I don't mess it up. But I feel confident, so we're good to go. So I just took a piece of masking tape and I stamped the same bridge on the masking tape. And then we're going to peel off the back. It's a little bit longer than my paper, so I'm going to use that to hold it on this mat so that it doesn't move around on my table. I think I have this off just a little bit. I want to make sure it's exactly right so that I don't have any spaces between my characters and my mat. So there we go. And then I'm going to use, hi Beth, I'm going to use this to stick it to my desk just so it stays kind of still for a second. And then I'm going to use the Memento ink again. Hello, hello. And I'm going to stamp Tigger over here. So when you put them on the bridge, I want it to look like there's a bit of a wall between where they walk and where their bodies are. So I definitely don't want to stamp them on top like this because then it just kind of looks funny. And I also don't want to go down too low because this bridge is only this wide. So I want it to look like he's behind the bridge. So I'm going to stamp it just a little bit with this little bit of his foot showing and his tail. And I've never stamped on this new mat that I have, this purple mat. So I don't know if it will stamp well on that. I haven't tried it before. Worked perfectly. So that is... Now, when we take the mask off, you won't see that bottom part of Tigger. And that is why we build the mask. I'm going to now take my Pooh Bear, and I'm going to put him on the other side. And he's going to be the same way. So you won't be able to see his legs. So I'm going to try to put him down about the same height as Tigger is. So right there, where the same amount of his legs are going to be on the bridge. Lift him off, and there we go. So that is how you mask these. Just remember, whatever you want to be in the front of the card, you have to stamp first. And then anything you want to go behind that is you stamp it after. Now, I didn't want to color the whole background because I have this amazing paper I want to use. And it looks like this. And it kind of looks like the forest already. So what I want to do is take this mask off so you can see what it looks like. Super cute. Gives exactly the impression we're looking for. I'm going to stick this mat on my stamp set so I can use it again at another time. And then what I'm going to do is fussy cut all around these guys so that I can put the background behind the bridge like this. So I have this background. So I'm going to show you how fast I'm going to do this. You ready? Bam. Done. Super fast. Magic hands. And now I'm going to actually just use my X-Acto to take this part out because it's going to bug me if I see a big white spot instead of the background. And I missed that when I was prepping this for the live tonight, but I didn't want you to have to watch me fussy cut all the details out. So magic, magic, magic. So there we go. Now we have our Tigger, Pooh Bear, and our bridge. I'm excited. Are you guys excited? You guys are quiet tonight. Nobody's talking. Everybody's quiet. So what's going to happen when we get done coloring is we're going to place them on here, and then you're going to see that that foresty background. So that was my plan, and I kind of like it. I'm excited. I think it'll look good. So let's talk about doing this stone bridge. So there is a multitude of colors for this, okay? So there are, I'm going to be mixing like the green, olive green, gray, using the W's, some of the E's like 87, 84, to give it a mossy stone look on the bridge. So you'll see, we'll get started and you'll see. So I'm going to start out with W7 to build my bridge. Now, my biggest concern is that underneath each one of the stones, I want there to be some shadow or depth. So I'm going to start adding some of this in between with my W7. And I'm not going to do it in every place because some places I want it to look a bit lighter and some places I want it to look a bit darker. So I'm just going to start adding in this dark color underneath some of the stones. Some of them I'll go around the side, some of them are just underneath. So it's kind of just building it in, and it is a bit on the random side on where I'm adding it and how much I'm adding it. So you can do it any way you want. Hi, Beth. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. You made it before we got started on the bridge too far. So just going to build this in a couple of places. Now, this is going to be a very stone bridge. So these are going to look like odd colored stones. And then in between is the cement-ish that is holding the whole bridge together. So that's my theory. That's my plan. And I'm sticking to it. Now, you can make these stones any color you want, but I want, since they're going to be out in the woods, it's kind of a bridge out in the woods, I wanted it to be a bit on the grayish tan with some green color for it to look a bit mossy, like it's built a little bit of moss around it, because it is out in the 100-acre wood, if you will, you know, because that's where Pooh Bear hangs out. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's where they are, in the 100-acre woods. So I did, you love my name on my markers, or my name for the 100-acre woods. You like my story? I seem to like to tell stories these days. On all my images, I have lots of stories. But I guess when you're doing images that you remember from childhood and such, then you tend to have a story. So the reason that Winnie the Pooh is so dear to my heart is because I did my son's baby room in the 100-acre woods. So it was really cute and we just loved it. And I even painted on the walls and such. So it was a really cute room, and that's what it reminds me of when I see the little Pooh Bear stuff. Now we also have trees and ground and water, but our water isn't going to be like regular water. So normally when you do ocean water, it's like you use bees and BG and such. But tonight, because this is in the woods, Beth and Beth, yes. And because this is in the woods, it's going to be more of a mossy water. So because the water always looks a bit dirty when it's way out in nature, versus the ocean that tends to remain more blue-green depending on where you go. I mean, of course, if you go to some places, it's murky and dirty and whatever. But for the most part, when I think of ocean, I always think of something really beautiful and pretty. But that's not what this little river, lake, whatever you want to call it, is going to be. So now we're going to switch to E87. E87. So this is fig. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more so you guys can really see what I'm doing. So this is more of a brownish, greenish, tan color. I don't really know exactly, but it's a little bit different than the W's, so I want to build that in, and I'm just going to start extending from where I put those W colors, keeping it a little bit dark, and but then we're going to add some green in here for the mossy colors. So wherever I don't put these two, we'll put some moss color in there so it looks like there's moss building around this bridge area. So if you have a bridge, oh, that's okay, Cheryl, thanks for joining us. If you have a bridge that doesn't have these type of stones on it, it's just a plain bridge, you can draw these stones in with your W marker or even a lighter color, just to mark out where you want those areas to be, those stones. And then you can do this very same process. You just need to start with building the stones. And as you can tell, the way that Sandra did it at Sassy Club for this stamp set was she made the stones all odd shaped, which makes it look more realistic. So I really like that about this stone, because if I were going to do a stone bridge, I would do them all odd shaped like this as well, if I were going to draw it in myself. And I want to kind of try to keep a little bit of the depth around the opening areas, because I think you would need more cement in those areas just to keep it secure. We don't want our guys to fall off the bridge for sure. That would be bad, because Pooh Bear would drop his honey. And he would be, oh, so sad. I know, even my mom's not here. So weird. I think it's the adjustment to the new time. 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Instead of 8:30. I used to do it much later, and I do prefer that, but it feels like everyone else, or a lot of people, weren't able to make it at the later time or fell asleep, so that's why I moved the time up. But I'm pretty flexible. It doesn't really matter to me what time it is that we do it, because I'm just home coloring anyway, or crafting of some sort. So we're just building this in, leaving small amounts for the next color. And that's why this process takes a little bit. We're going to add some texture to our stones too, so stick around and you'll see how to do that. So I'm not really coloring in any like specific kind of straight or blending or anything like that right now. I'm just adding in the two colors to make it look a bit darker than the stones will be. So now I'm going to switch gears and move to a green color. So I'm going to use G94, and we're going to add that everywhere in between that doesn't have any color right now. So we're going to start just finishing off those internal areas with this greenish color. So when I hold it up, you can kind of see that it has a bit of green in there. Some areas you'll be able to see a little more than others, but in real life, you can really see the green, which makes it look very mossy-ish. So notice how I'm only going over some of the other two colors, but not all of it, because I don't want the whole thing to look green. I just want certain areas to look green-ish. And it's okay if I get them on some of the stones, because I'm going to put green on some of the stones as well. Because, you know, if it's mossy in between, it's going to be mossy on the stones as well. But I didn't want to just do one color stone, because I think it just gives a bigger impact when you add different colors together. It gives you a better impact of the bridge. And it's more like being out in the open as well. ones that wanted aren't on earlier aren't on. I don't understand why they ask and not show up. I am so with you on that. I know. I guess you just can't always get it perfect, so. But I do know that I have quite a few people that watch replays, so I really like that. And maybe if it tends to still be the same few people on at 8, we can go back to 8:30. So we'll just see how it goes for a little bit and then move from there. I'll still do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays though, because that works best for me. It gives me Wednesday open for my every other week Bible study class, and then it leaves my Friday open for craft roulette. So Tuesday and Thursday works really good for me. So now you can kind of see, if I hold it up, can you see the green in there, how it looks splotchy and kind of mossy, and that was kind of the plan. So now I'm going to grab an even darker green. So this is G99. And I'm going to add just a little bit of this in a few places just to deepen the look of some of the green. So I'm definitely going to be doing it over where I put green, but just adding a little bit on top of a few of the areas just to give a little bit different shadow color. I just want to show a little bit darker in some places, a little bit lighter in others. And that also helps it look like there's a bit of shadow going on. So we want texture and depth for sure. So we're going to be focusing a little bit on that part. I'm not putting this in a lot of places, just a few, just to get a bit more depth going on in my picture. And again, I'm not real worried about the shapes of these stones. So if I'm going over the edge, I'm okay with that. That's why I'm doing it kind of quick, because I'm okay with getting some in the stones, because I'll just use that color to work to my advantage. Okay, I think I'm good with that being my deep dark stuff. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are good, but you wish every night, ha ha ha. Sometimes I wish every night too, because every night, almost every night I'm coloring, and it's just more fun when I get to do it with you guys. So we're now going to step down to W5, and we're going to start filling in our stones. So I'm not going to do the whole stone. I'm just going to choose some areas to put this gray in. Some of them are going to look a little cracked. Some of them are going to be the whole side. It's just going to be kind of random-ish how I put this color in, because we're going to add a few colors to these stones. Definitely around the little bushes, I want that to have a bit of shadow, so I am definitely going to add this color there. But as far as the rest of these, some are going to look like cracks, and some are going to look like just filled in. Some of the stones I might even skip. I definitely want the ones that are up close to the ground to have some color in them. So now we're just building. You work Wednesdays, and so my schedule works for you. That's awesome. I love that. So for this one, I'm just going to do like a small area on the top. We'll come in from this side. That one will go in from that side. And these just don't really matter exactly how you do them. I'm just randomly putting in some color, which is what's kind of fun about this bridge area, is that it doesn't have to be anything specific. Just put some color in there, however you want. So it can be a lot, a little, you know, like this one can look like it has 2 cracks in it. And we're also going to put like some dots for texture and stuff like that, but we'll get to that. Just hang tight. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So it's just, this bridge, it just takes a little bit of time because of the detail amount that we're putting in it. But in the end, you're going to love how it comes out, I think. Anyway, I hope. That is the plan. For you guys to really be happy and try this yourself at home. I mean, I'm sure you have other stamps that have stone buildings or other bridges. I mean, we can always use stone texture, I think. There we go. So now I have some of this gray in all kinds of different places on my little stones. I think I want to put a little bit in this corner too. There we go. It looked like too big of a white spot over there. Okay, now we're going to switch to our E84. Okay, so notice these are in the same color families as the ones I put in between, but they're lighter colors so that the stones will stand out from the cement-ish in between. So in this case, I'm going to start building in some of this as well, all around. In areas, some will overlap the gray and some will not. So just... again, random and however you want to do it. Just so that you can get some of this color in each stone. And as you can see, the colors mix rather well together. It looks a little funny right now, but it'll come together. We need these base colors in there to really bring out the stone look when we use the colorless blender. So we need this in there, even though it looks a bit funny right now. This one will go along along the edges. This one I did with a little lighter touch so that it would look a little bit lighter than the rest. So as you can see, it looks 3D. Good. That's what it's supposed to look like. That is what I'm trying to do. And that's what all that depth in between did. And using lighter colors now, it's supposed to give you the perception of a 3D type, that this is truly a bridge. So that is exactly what we're going for. So if you see that, I'm doing something right. Because that is the plan. This one has quite a bit of the color because I wanted the stones to have this color on there, but there's still some white areas for the next color. So the next color is going to be a bit of green because we need to get that green in there as well. And that's why I went ahead and did the fussy cutting and things like that before this video, because I knew this stone would take us a little while to do. Now Tigger and Pooh, they'll be easy, but, well, I don't know if I'll say easy for everyone, but they'll be a lot easier than, and take less time than doing the bridge. There we go. So now we have a bit of each and it's very scattered. And it's going to be much lighter than that when we get done. Because remember I said we're going to have to use the colorless blender. So YG93 is what's going to come next. And I'm going to put that over the whole stone. No worries. Although I'm still not blending. I'm not going to blend yet either. The blending will happen when we use the colorless blender. That will blend it, move it, make it look textured. So that is the plan. And that process, that colorless blender process takes a little while, so bear with me on that. But in order to get it to look really good, you got to use that. And honestly, it's looking really good just like this, but we're going to go one step further. And you'll see why I'm not blending the colors out, because it will mess up. It won't give you the best effect with the colorless blender if you blend all these colors together before you use the colorless blender. So it's better to leave it like this. And this is almost a little bit like a camouflage as well. Like if you were doing camo clothes or whatever, you can use this same kind of method, just not the colorless blender. So there we go. Now we have some green, we have some brown. There's a lot of green in that, but that's okay. So now I'm going to pull out the colorless blender, and this is the really important part. So this is my colorless blender. I'm going to use both this end and this end. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the colorless blender on top of the stone and hold it there for like 3 seconds. And then we're going to move it over and do that again. And then we're going to turn it around and do it on this area right here. So we got to do that on all the stones for about 3 seconds. You want to hold it there. It's going to move the ink around. It'll be really saturated, so it will also pull some of the ink back in. And you'll just keep going on all the stones. You can see how this is kind of changing it up a bit. And it will, but this is not the final part of the project. We're going to do some more. This looks really good when you do it with bricks as well. So this is definitely a technique you can use with bricks. I've done it once before, and I think I know where that image is, so I can show it to you if you want to see it. The longer you hold it, the better effects you're gonna see. If there's smaller areas, you can use the tip of this, or you can color with it, either way. But for the most part, I like to hold it in there and move that ink around. So instead of blending it together, I'm just moving the ink around with this colorless blender. So it takes a little bit because you have to hold it. It's kind of a 1, 2, 3 sort of hold on there. It almost looks a little marbly right there, where I put that. The ones that are drying, as you can see, they're starting to kind of marble a little bit. They don't look as blotchy as they do when I first do it. The more saturated or the more full your colorless blender is, the faster this goes. So if you hold yours there and it doesn't move, it means your colorless blender's kind of dry, and you probably need to add some colorless blender solution to your marker. Probably would be handy. So I told you this process was going to take a little bit, so hang in there. There's no shortcut for this. But it makes a good impact in the end. It gives you much lighter sections like that by doing this rather than blending. go. Anybody have any questions so far? Any suggestions for future things you'd like to see? So this is stone, but we could do other things if you need to see other things. Isn't Tigger look so happy? He's so cute. I think he looks so happy to be running into Pooh today. Although that didn't sound too good, did it? All right, we're almost there. Just a little bit more. By the time we get done on this side will be fairly dry and we'll be able to go on to the next step. That's why I'm doing it the whole thing at one time. So I want to let it dry a little bit before I get into the next step. Different waters. There are many different ways to do waters, that's for sure. I think we have some Nemo stamps. I know we did Nemo, but we didn't do the octopus. I forget his name. Do you remember his name for the movie, honey? I don't either. I forget. I know I already did this one, but I feel like it needs a little more. I can't remember his name, but we could definitely do waters. There's different ways to do like bubbles and droplets and all kinds of stuff. And look, see how the ink comes through the back of the paper? Because we're adding so much colorless blender. Supposedly this mat is supposed to be able, you're supposed to be able to wipe this off. So we will see. Luckily this mat wasn't real expensive, so if that's a problem, I bought a second one just in case. But what this mat does is it makes it so the reflection doesn't show from the lighting, and I was trying to get that reflection to go away. So right now we have stuff like this. Do watercolor, but would love to use Copics. Any recommendations for a starter kit? Yes, I actually have a list that I can send you if you want that just kind of gives you the basics of having one of each color kind of thing. Oh, this might not. I may have to use colorless blender to get that off. I just wanted to see if it would wipe off. Not with water. I don't do watercolor, but I think watercolor is super cool. I just never had the patience to learn it. So right now we're just kind of letting this dry a little bit more because there's a lot of ink on it. And then we're going to start with the next color. So we actually have 3 more colors to go. We have 3 more colors to go on here. So I'm going to start. Okay, yeah, I can send that to you for sure. It's kind of like giving you a 3-color combo for all the different colors in the family group that I think blend easily together rather than venturing out in the more difficult ones. So with my W4, I'm going to start putting some dots in here. They'll fade a little, so don't worry about that. It's just building in a little bit of the texture on there. Because the stones are never smooth. They always have a little bit of dots and stuff. And as you can see, it's already starting to blend that out, which is good. When I built my collection, I did it in parts, you know, and I started out with 3 of each, you know, color family that I needed. And then I worked on the E's first, because you need so many different E's for so many different things. For skin tone, and you need the E's for like animals and things like that. And they're all so different that I started with the E's first. And then the last ones that I did were all the grays. So I had a base set of grays, and then I never filled in. I filled in C and W first, and then N's and T's were the very last markers that I bought. So, yeah, I can totally help you with that. I use, I order all of my stuff from Violetta Ink. I like them. They're pretty fast. They usually have stuff in stock. They're pretty great. I really, really like them. Make sure you check your markers when you receive them to make sure there aren't any dry or no cracked lids or anything that may have happened that they didn't catch, because they can't open every marker they own. So if you have an issue, you can just let her know, and she's really good about it. So, but I always check the caps and the markers when I receive them to make sure everything is good. So as you can see, this process is really slow. Also watch Michael's, and if you still have a Joann's, I know they were clearancing out some Copics. Violetta Ink only sells sketch. They don't sell chow. And I don't have any chow, so I can't show you what the chow looks like, but basically the difference is it's the exact same ink. The differences are that the chows are round, so they roll on your desk a little more, and they don't have the numbers on the end, but there is a way you can add your own numbers on the end. But they hold less ink, and they're cheaper. So if you're looking for a cheaper alternative, you could look for chow markers. And I think Artful Angel sells them. This is E81. I think Artful Angel might sell some chows and stuff. So you could try that. And then there's a few other places. Probably some people who watch this on replay may suggest places they've bought their chows, but I don't have any, so I just went full set syndrome. Chow doesn't have all the colors. They have like 170 something, and sketch have 358, so you get a lot more with the sketch, but they work well together because they're the same ink. So you refill them with the same refills, and so just whatever works for you is what you can do. And I'm just adding some of this E81 kind of over where any of the weird separations are, or where I want to just blend a little bit and cover a little bit of that green. But we're almost done with our bridge. And look at how different it looks from what we started. We have a lot of darker colors in there and tones, and kind of makes it look like actually like stone. And if you want, you can do them much lighter or darker. I wanted mine to look grungy, so this is YG91, and it's a very light color, so I'm just going to do a quick little like scan over it, just so I get a little bit of that green in there, back in there, since we moved it all around. So I'm just kind of splotchily touching the stones with a little bit of this, just to build some of it in. There's no rhyme or reason to exactly where I'm putting it. I'm just kind of randomly doing it. And then that is the last step. There we go.
Should have that one little spot.
Right there. I saw it. Yep. And this one is a little bit light, and this one is a little bit light. So I'm just going to add a bit more of that green in there. But then you have a bridge that looks like this. So this is an old stony bridge with all kinds of color in it. But if you ever look at a stone bridge, there's dark areas and light areas and all that kind of stuff. So that's what that bridge did for us. So, yay! Okay, we have the bridge down. Now we're going to work on the water next. Now, I want this water to look a bit on the mossy side. So what we're going to use is we're going to start with a YG63. And this is a little bit lighter green than darker green than I necessarily wanted to go, but I want the center of the water to have some of this really dark green in it, because I feel like the more close you get to the center, the deeper it is, and so it's going to look more green. And I'm not going to do this really smooth. I want it to be splotchy for right now. I'm going to use C1 because generally I have a little bit of gray in my water. And I'm going to use C1 for the edges of the water. So wherever they dip into the land, I want to have some of this gray in there. Like that. All right, this is very strange water compared to what we normally do with water, but it's okay, just hang with me. BG11, so this is where the blue-ish color comes in. So we're gonna put that around the edges a little bit and then over top of the green. Because I don't want it to look completely green, but I want it to look like the bottom of the water is mossy. Now, in order to get that to blend a little bit more, I'm going to switch back to YG, but this time I'm going to use YG61. Hey, Mom. That's okay. It's okay. We're just going to use this 61 to kind of blend out a little bit this green that we put in there. So still mossy, still a bit on the deep side of the green, but definitely filling it in. So for those that are popping on now, this is definitely going to be out in the woods. So the water in the woods is always murky and kind of dingy looking. So that's what we have going on here. Now I also want to add just a teeny bit of brown in there. Not a lot, just a little. And I'm going to use E31 because I happen to have that marker out. And I'm going to go sort of along the center-ish area, just so it looks a little bit more murky in the center. Now, I know most of the time when people show you how to color, they don't generally do murky water, but we needed it to be that way for our scene. Where's that? E31. I need to do a little bit right. I missed this spot right here. Needs to be a little bit darker. There we go. And then as our last blending step, we're going to use BG10. So I'm going to very lightly touch this BG10 over top of all the colors I just put in there, just to kind of bring them back, a little bit of that blue back in there. And notice I used BG and not blue so that it meshed really well with the green. So while we usually like our water to look real pretty and beautiful, this is not going to look that way. It's not the kind of water we have out in the woods, if you will. I want our trees, our little bushes, to look a little bit brighter green. So we're going to start those off with YG67. And what I'm going to do is, you can see how these stick out like leaves. So it's the way that I hold the marker that's going to put those leaves in there. So I'm going to do them like this. I'm not going to overlap too much because I want to kind of leave those designs in there to make this look like it's almost, you can do the tops of trees like this as well, but I think it's a pretty neat way to make it look like there are leaves and stuff all over this little bush right here. So for now, there's going to be some in there, and then we'll come back in with other colors and do some more. So we have one on one side. We need one more to come in right there. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So it's just to give a little bit of texture to what we're doing so everything doesn't look exactly the same. Because you want to have some different textures going on in your image. Otherwise, everything looks the same. We don't want that, so. There we go. So now we have our little bushes started. This water reminds me of creeks. I think you're spot on with the color. Oh, I'm so glad. Yay! I try. So now I want these bushes to be more green than olive. The grass will be more olive, so more like a shadowy color. So we're going to use YG17, and we're going to start building in on some of those light areas. Probably not all of them because we have one more color to go, but definitely around some of the areas. Kind of get that, starting to build that in a little bit more. Still using that same way that I touched the brush on there, still with the side of my brush so that everything kind of looks like it's going the same direction. Now we're going to do it with this one. You can't see them as well as you can see the darker ones, and we'll probably come back in and add a few more after the fact just to keep that design going, because once we blend with the next color you won't see it quite as well. But we'll go back in and add them back in so you have some texture. All right, YG25 is the last color, and this one's even lighter, so this is the one that I'm going to add for a little bit of highlight in here. Again, just kind of putting it sort of random and covering up any of the white spots. I don't want to leave any white spots. So there's a little bush, and then we'll come back in and add more leaves with our darkest color here in just a minute. So this gives us a chance to lighten it up with these lighter colors, and then we'll go back in and put some of the really dark ones back in there. All right, so back to our YG67, which is this one. And we're just going to, this time I'm going to hold the marker up just a little bit higher so that my little leaves are a different color. I mean, a different size on top of the other ones. It's a little bit darker than I expected it to be, so we may have to hit it with the next color as well, just to kind of get some more strokes in there. But I think in the end it's going to look better because it has more in it, and it needed a little bit more. So sometimes when you're building a scene for outside, you have to start, and then sometimes you have to go back and add more. I'd rather have to add more than wish I could take it away, because you can't take it away. You can add more, but you can't take it away. So I go a little conservative in the beginning, and then we move on from there. So this is the YG17 again, and I'm just going to add this one in some of the other places. I'll leave some of the lightest color in there. I don't want to fill in the whole thing. But this will make it look a little more cohesive. There we go. So it looks like a little bush, I think. I like it. There are other ways to do this. You could do it with just dots if you wanted, or you can build them however you want. But I thought this was a little bit different of a technique that you can use that gives a little bit different effect. All right, so for the grassy areas that are close to the water, I'm going to start them with YG97. I want them to be just a little bit darker, and I'm going to use more behind the bridge than in front of the bridge. So going along these edges right here where the bridge is overshadowing it, and where the trees are covering it. So up close to the trees here, we'll have this darkest color. And then in the back, it will have a little bit more. It will come out a little bit further. So along the bridge, I'm going to build that little fence, if you will. And then add in more of this color in the back. I'm also going to add a little bit along that ledge right there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, up close to the tree area, the little bush area, out from there, and then down the edge right there. Probably do a little bit around the bottom of this, just so we have some. We should probably put some around the bottom here too. And then in here, same thing, we're going to build that like that little fence there, and then we're going to start coming out from there. We did this little ledge like that, this one here, and then building this out a bit here. So a little bit darker in the back, a little bit brighter in the front. Sun would be in the front, shining this way. In my picture, that's what I see. Now we're going to move to the YG95. This will be a different color of green for this than what we have in the bushes, so it separates it. I want this to be a little bit smooth. I want it to look like it's a very low spot of grass. Kind of dead grass, if you will. It doesn't really look grassy. It looks like it's kind of dead, but nobody's out there watering it, so it is what it is. I am kind of blending this out. I want it to be a little bit more smooth than the other stuff that we're coloring, so I'm pretty happy with that the way it is right now. It also brings out the bluish green in the water, which I really, really like. Kind of makes it stand out a bit. So this whole bridge scene is what takes the longest. Now, normally you would be inclined to do blue back here as being the sky, but we cannot do that because we're adding patterned paper to the back of our image. So if we put sky there, it's going to be sky under trees. In case you missed the beginning of the video, I will show you what I'm talking about in just one sec. So we are going to put this behind them. So if you put sky down here, then you have sky below the grass, which doesn't make sense. So we will be cutting that piece out so you can see the green behind it. All right, one more color of green, and I'm going to go with YG63. So a little bit of the colors, lighter color than what we use there. It's going to be different than this greenish brown color. So I'm going to go over the whole thing so it kind of blends it together. And once I get that on there, I will be going back with the YG91 to bring that olive color back. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. There we go. We're just blending this color, but we have to put it on the whole thing so that it doesn't look like it doesn't match. We want it to all match. But there's enough of that olive under there that it's not the same color green as the trees. So I really like that. I'm going to use the YG91, which is that same olive green over top of the whole thing to bring that olive color back in. There we go. Just a little bit up back here, a little bit right here. And here. And then we're ready to cut that piece out. And I like it. I think it looks really good with the water. The water looks really good. So I'm just going to grab my X-Acto knife. This is pretty easy to cut, pretty quick. So I'm just going to go, I think I'll start going this way first. Should go rather quickly. I'm on a self-healing mat, so I won't be cutting up anything like my desk or my board or anything, so it's pretty easy. These X-Acto knives, you can get them on Amazon. They have numbers on them. They're called Pen Blade. This is number 11. It's my favorite one. We'll pop that out. Now we have that opened up. I feel like I need a little bit closer cut on that. So I'm going to use my scissors now that it's open and kind of bring that a little bit closer under here. Closer, closer. So I think that white will look funny up against that backdrop. So we'll test it in a minute. I didn't test this beforehand. This is just what I decided as we were going along, that we were going to add this. I mean, we're going to have to cut this out, and it's okay. It didn't take us very long, but we definitely can't color that blue because that won't look right. So it will go on top of here, and you will see more grass behind there. So it'll come together just very nicely. See? Looking like you're seeing even further and further back. All right, so now we have to color our Pooh Bear and our Tigger. Tigger's my favorite, so we're saving him for last. Going to do Pooh Bear next. Now, Pooh Bear has a lot of yellowy orange in him, so we have to be careful that we have a little bit of variation between the honey and the Pooh Bear. So I'm going to start with Y38, and I'm going to do that really up close on the part of the honey that he's eating, and then what's dripping out of the honey pot. Like that. And then it's also the shadow color for Pooh Bear. So we're going to go ahead and put some on his ear, just on the outside. We're going to put a little pink in his ears too, so we need to leave that kind of open. We're going to add a little bit around the side of his head. And then where the honey pot meets his face, we'll have a bit of shadow there. The edge of his hand. This is his shirt and this is his body. So he needs a little bit along the underside of his body and right up against that honey that's on his arm. That would be shadowing as well. A little bit right here. And then this is his little neckline right here, so we need this color in there. And then this is his body. So we're going to put some here and then away from the honey pot. So there we go. I like to, I use the slice for fussy cutting. It's my favorite. Oh, I haven't heard of that. I don't know what that is. Is that something that was out like a really long time ago? It kind of sounds familiar. I'm going to grab my R12, which is what I'm going to do the inside of his ears with the R12. It's going to look really similar to, I'm going to move this down so you don't see all those marks I have on my mat now. And then we're going to do his tongue and the inside of his ear with this R12. It's pretty close to the yellows, so you won't see a lot of difference, but you will when you you know, you'll be able to see it later, I promise. Okay, next color is Y35. We are going to skip using much of this at all. We're going to skip it on our honey and just do our Pooh Bear with this Y35. So I'm going to start going around, all the way around the outside on his ears. It's been around. I'll send you one. Oh, nice. That's a different meat. That's a different meat tonight. Mat. Yes, it is a different mat. So I ordered this mat because it was recommended for no glare from the lights. And I have to struggle a lot with glare from the light. I have so many lights that are over me and the glare causes a problem. So I changed the mat, but I didn't know how that was going to work out. So I have this one I'll use as my spares, and then I bought an extra one in case everything went through. I'll just know I'll need to put something underneath this when I work with it on this mat. But yes, I like this mat. I'm testing it out. Mostly I wanted it for speed coloring videos because you need more light for those, and it causes the colors to look a little bit different if you have a lot of light reflection. So just trying to make things better for you guys. They're pretty inexpensive. I got it on Amazon. It was like $7.99 or something. It's like just a desk mat. And supposedly you can do oxide and stuff on here and it'll wipe right off. I think I'm gonna have to use colorless blender to wipe that off because it's alcohol marker. So I'm gonna need to use some of that instead. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in here on his nose, just so we can have a little bit of depth in there. Next, I'm going to use Y32, and this one I'm going to use on Pooh Bear and the honey. So Y32 is where I'm going to start working on the honey. So wherever the first color meets up, I want that to blend together. And then we'll be blending out some of Pooh Bear. And we have one more color, so we'll have one more lighter color for Pooh Bear. There we go. And usually when I'm building yellow or orange, I don't generally use Y38, but I thought it was perfect for the Pooh Bear color. Because he's yellow, but not really totally yellow. He kind of has that little bit of hint of orange on him. So I love this color combination for him. And we're going to kind of blend these out a little bit more into our other color so that there's no lines there. It just looks a little bit darker over his nose. I call this same mat my nasty mat. Baby wipes, that's a good idea. I think I have some of them over here. I mean, who doesn't have baby wipes in their craft room? Most of us do. I'm just working that transition spot real quick to make sure it blends real well. I want my little Winnie the Pooh blended well. This is the underside, like way under him, so this will be the last color on that part. I'll leave this hand for the last color, and then I'll leave a little bit on this one to include the last color as well. All right, so Y21 is my last color. This one is Buttercup Yellow, so it kind of brings it back to a bit more of a yellow. This will keep his little ears light up here. I also went over the pink because I don't want it to stand out too much, but you can tell just by looking at that there's some pink under there, and I like that. So Go around his eyes. We have to blend these colors together. Make sure they come out smooth. A little bit around his mouth. We'll do the inside of his mouth in just a minute. I'm going to use a little different color for that. There's his little hand. I'm going to touch the top of the honey. And there we go. Now we have this cute, cute little Pooh Bear. Now, for his mouth, I'm going to use a little bit of R56, which we're going to use for his mouth and the honey pot. So the inside of his mouth, I want it to be a bit dark. So I'm going to put a bit of that R56. And then this panel right here, this panel to be almost like a pinkish red. So I'm going to use this R56. I want to go along the edge. Going to add a second coat there to kind of deepen up that original color. And then we're going to use R85. So just touching that over top of the part in his mouth, and I think that looks perfect. And then we're going to be blending from the R56 with the 85 to kind of get our color for this panel right here. This is the panel on the honey pot, usually where it says honey, but tonight it doesn't say honey. There we go. Perfect. Like the color. Okay, next we have the honey pot, which is going to be E35, because we want the honey pot to be this brownish color. So I'm going to put that all over inside here. And just along the back side right there, underneath the honey area. And then we have to do the edges of the pot down here. And for sure the bottom. Now we're going to use E33. And we're going to leave a small area for E31. E31 is our last color for our honey pot. This is just going to keep it very light in that middle area right there. There we go. See, now he has the cutest little honey pot. So his nose is actually black, and we're going to make his eyebrows black as well. So we're going to use C8. I'm going to do the underside of his little nose. And then we're going to use C6 to finish his little eyebrows. There we go. I left a little area kind of light right there to show that reflection on his nose, but we'll also enhance that with a white gel pen. All right, so for his shirt is red, so we're going to use R59. So along the bottom. And then what's up against the honey pot. Like this. and then whatever's underneath his arm and the honey. Just like that. Right, now we're going to use our 56. Wait, no, our 46. Sorry about that. Our 46, because we want his shirt to be red. 56 will keep it more of this dull red color. And we want it to be bright red shirt compared to the mauve-y red of the honey pot. And then our 24 will bring that red to life. And I'm only going to be coloring for a second, so I didn't take both caps off. I'm going to watch though, because I don't want to drip on my little guy. There we go. So now he has his cute little red shirt on. And now all we have left is Tigger, and then we can put our card together. Is this image a stamp and die set, or is it a fussy cutting situation? I fussy cut it, but I stamped it, masked it, stamped it, and then all I cut out was that and this during the live with an X-Acto knife. But this was super easy to cut out. But I don't know, she might have a die set, but I don't have it because I don't mind fussy cutting, so I haven't bought all the dies. But if you buy one of her stamp sets and you want the dies, my suggestion is buy it now because of, you know, all this stuff going on. You want to make sure you can get it. It is fussy cut. I mean, you'd be able to cut the pieces out, but you'd have to layer them. You wouldn't be able to stamp them together like this. You'd have to do them in pieces if you have the dies, because this is a masking situation here. Okay, so the inside of Tigger's ears and this part of his face is like a tan-ish color. So we're going to use this E43. Also, same thing for his stomach area is also this color. You're welcome. It's really easy to cut out. But if you wanted, you could have just colored the whole background blue. And you wouldn't have had to cut anything out. But I wanted to use this paper, this background paper that I have, and so in order to do that I had to fussy cut it. This is E42, a little bit lighter than the last color we put on there. Keep that kind of light for the front of Tigger's face and the little ears, and then working a little bit of it on the belly. But we do have one more color. So the inside of his ears, I'm going to use the R12 just like I did for Winnie the Pooh. Hey, Dee Deanne, how are you? So I'm just going to put that little bit in his ear, and then I want a little bit on his tongue, but I'm going to start with the edge of his tongue because I'm going to come in with that E04 and like deepen it up from the back like this, because we want that two different colors on his tongue. Now I'm going to go back in with my R12 and kind of blend that transition spot a little bit more so his tongue is super cute. Let's put a little bit more of this on there. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so our last color on his body is going to be E50. Because E50 it's an eggshell color, so it has a little bit more of a peachy tone than the brown, so it kind of helps with this light color right here. It's almost like an off-white, so it works perfectly. I'm going to go over the R12 in his ears and then blend out his belly. There we go. Now he has a pink nose, sort of pinkish color nose. So we're going to use our kind of a reddish pink, R59 for his nose. And then we're going to use E04 because it's still dark. I thought I saw you went live. I'm glad I caught you. Yes, I did. I went live earlier than I normally do. I'm going to turn this around so I can blend that out a little better. I think I wanted that to be a little bit more pink. So I'm going to go in with the R85 that I used and just lighten that up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. That worked out great. All right, so there's our little Tigger nose. And he looks a little funny right now, but when I put that orange and stuff in there, he is going to be awesome. Okay, so the pad on his foot is the only thing I'm going to use this YR27 for. I just want it to be a little bit darker than the rest of his body. So that's the only place I'm going to use this YR27. Now I'm going to use YR18 for my shadow areas and this foot. So I'm going to do the foot first. Okay, now it's done. And then we're going to do just his shadow areas with this darkest color. So let's see, I want to go on that side of his eye, a little bit on his ears. And then I'm just going to go right over these stripes because they're going to be black anyway. So it's okay. I mean, black's going to cover anything I might go over. And that's why I like doing this Tigger one. It's so easy to color because you don't have to worry about the stripes. You don't have to go around them. You don't have to do any weird stuff with them. We'll just go over them with the black marker in a few minutes. So I'll show you how that works out. Then I want a little bit of shadow on that backhand. Like that. I want it right here up close to his body. Probably a little bit there. I want to round out this shadow right here. I'm going to go down the back side of him. And I'm going to put some right here along his belly to sort of make that stand out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go along the back of his tail. So mostly on the underside of his tail like this. And we'll come in with the next color and do more. So I have two more colors on my orange. The next one is YR68. And that's the one that we're going to go around the outside and blend out our color that we put on there first. So anything inside his eye area. Just blending out from where that last color was. So a little bit on his hands and then around the outside. There we go. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Fun, fun, fun. Yep, the wonderful thing about Tigger is he's the only one. That is correct. I like Tigger. He's cute. Piglet is one of my favorites, but he didn't fit on the card the way I wanted. I did try, but I really like Eeyore too. But he's the sad one. Oh, ho hum. He seems so sad. I wanted this to be a happy card. And the unfortunate part is almost all the images are facing the same direction. So you either made them in a line across the bridge or they wouldn't look at each other. So that's why I chose to use these two. YR04, this is where we're going to just go in and blend now with this much brighter orange, which is going to be our Tigger orange. So we should probably, I didn't mean to touch it with, I touched the outside of the, and then I'm going to blend out with these. Now again, I said it doesn't matter that we're going over the Tigger stripes because they'll be black, so we'll be able to color them in right over top of our orange, which is why it was better to do our orange first rather than doing the black and then having to go in between and all around each one of them. I didn't want to do that, so I thought that would be way too much trouble. There we go. All right. Now, it doesn't look as much like Tigger, but wait until you see it once we put the color. So 100 is what I'm using. Or if you don't feel comfortable with the brush nib, that tiny area, then use a multi-liner. And then I'm going to go in and just color in each one of these little triangular shapes, which are his Tigger stripes. And there won't be any shadow or anything. It's all going to be just this black color in all these areas. And it starts making Tigger really come to life. And then we'll be ready to put our card together. Won't that be fun? I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really cute card, so I am excited. So he has stripes coming from both sides on his tail. And then he has one right here on his leg. And then the ones on his arms. So it's not too hard to do them, but you definitely have to hold your marker upright to get that really tiny line. But honestly, it covers orange, so if you go over the line, nobody's gonna know. She won't see the black lines. It's in black anyway, so no worries there. And I feel like this underside of his arm right there kind of needed a little bit of black on it as well. So I'm just going to add my own. Because you know that's the way I roll. See? Perfect. And there we go. So now all we have left is our multi-liner for their eyes so they stand out a little bit more. So this one is actually 0.35. It's a smaller one than I usually use. I got a fuzzy on my nib. And then we're going to do Tigger's eye right here. Then we'll give that a second to dry and we'll add the white gel pen. Isn't it just the most adorable, cutest thing ever? I love this stamp set. All right, so here's what I got. Brown card base. Okay, so brown card base is what I thought would be the best for this. And I made it a card going this way, which I don't usually do, but thought would be fun.
That's it.
Huh?
That's it.
Good night. Good night, Beth. Okay, so we're going to place this on our card. Exactly where we want it. It's a little bit shorter than I wanted it to be, but it's okay because our bridge is going to go down there, so you're not going to matter, and it's not going to matter. All right, let me get my glue. Hold on, I got to work my glue real quick. There we go. Probably need to add more glue. My glue bottle is getting low on glue. All right, I'll put this on here. Is that up where I want it to be? Yes. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to rub that on real quick with my little press pop. Now, what I should have done was measure this to that before I finished it so I could trim off the edges, and I missed that. So now I'm going to have to eyeball it. But I'm pretty sure it's 4 inches, so I just need to measure it here like this. So I need it to be 4. I only want to cut a very, very small little piece off of this side. And then we can measure it here at 4 inches, and it should work perfectly with that card. I left the edges on just in case I messed up something on the edge of the stamp, but there we go, perfect. Let's see how far up we, oh good, we're plenty far. So I want to pop this up. So I'm going to grab my pop stuff, this stuff. So cute. So we're going to pop this up because I feel like it'll make them look like they're actually walking on a bridge that's kind of, you know, in front of all of the woods. So I need to grab my sticky scissors. Let's see. There we go. All right, so now I'm just going to cut a few pieces of this so I can put them on there. Definitely want one here. One here. Probably one here. This one's a little long, so I'm going to trim it off. All right, here. We'll put this one over here. Need a little one in the center. I didn't make them quite long enough to go all the way across the top. There we go. Then we need a little bit on Tigger and a little bit on Pooh, and we'll be ready to go. Oh, did I do that too long? Yeah. That's what happens when you eyeball. All I want to do is make sure it doesn't go where you can see it. That's the biggest concern I have. So we're going to wait on that piece. Will that work? Yep, perfect. Now I'm going to cut some much smaller pieces so that I can put them where they need to be, like this one for Tigger's tail. I think we should cut that one in half. That way we can put one down low. I don't like it when part of my image sinks down because there's not enough pop dots. So I generally put a lot on there. So I'm going to take this one and cut it in half this way. So I have them a little bit thinner. And then that way I can put them like on here. There we go. That should be enough on that side. I'll put that one on his ear. And we'll put this one on the other ear. And that should be enough. I usually flip it over and kind of press on it to make sure no spots like sink down in. Let's see, where is my colorless blender? There it is. Remember when I got that little bit of orange on the edge of this one? I'm going to try to wash that out a little bit so you can't see it as well. There we go. That's great. We're going to take off the backs so we can attach the card. And then I will show you what we're going to do with the sentiment. I like that. I'm going to like this better popped up, I think. And I'm excited about it. I'm sorry you have to wait for me to peel all this stuff off the back. I'm going to make sure. I think I missed a spot over here. These little ones. And then this one. needs to come off. This one. This one. Almost done. 3 more. 1. Oh no, 2 more. 2. All right, that's the last one. And we're going to place this at the bottom, but we're going to leave about this much room on the bottom as well. So I'm going to turn it this way so I can see what I'm doing while you guys can see what I'm doing. Because once I put this down, it's going to stick. So I want to be real careful when I do it. Ta-da! Oh my goodness, so cute. I am very happy so far. All right, so remember when we first started the live, I showed you the die set that we were going to use for our sentiment. It's from Whimsy Stamps. It looks like this, says hello, because it looks like Tigger saying hello to Pooh, and I really like that. So here's this die. I already cut it out. I cut it out in green. I want to put it just on the back here like this. If it sticks off the edge, I'll just cut it off afterwards, but like this. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down because I know that I want that there, and I want it flat since I popped up the rest of it. So I'm going to put that down. That's just the matting for the back of the word. So no worries on that. Now, these are the letters I chose. Now, I chose 2 options. I chose this because I thought it would really bling up the card. But I also wanted to tell you, well, I lost an L somewhere on my lap, probably. So I guess if I can't find it, we might have to do this one. But let me look on the floor. You know how that goes. Do you see it anywhere, honey? I can't find it. Well, I was going to use that. Maybe we'll just do this. All right, so I cut it out in this because I thought this was cool. But I also cut it out and put it on this mat so that I could make it whatever color I wanted. So I wanted you to see that you can make it whatever color you want. But I really want to use that. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's mixed up in all of these markers here somewhere. I had it up here. Don't you hate it when you do that? All right. Maybe I'll just cut another one. Can you?
Check under your...
Under my what? Dale says, check under your...
die.
Under my die? No. Not under my words. Not under my stuff. Don't you hate it when you lose something in your craft room and you know you had it?
I found it.
Oh, you found it? Dale found it. Yay! Okay. So these are my letters. Are you guys laughing at me yet? This is funny. Everybody loses stuff on their desk. Okay, I really like these. This is some kind of glittery type blingy paper that I got from Stampin' Up. And I really like it. And I think it just really brings out the whole stone idea from it. So we're going to use these. But you can color the letters and make them whatever you want. But I really like these, so I think we're going to do this. It was either this or this paper, but I went for this for texture instead. So when you place the letters on there, and the reason it cuts them out individually like this on this die is because you have to overlap them a little bit. So I wanted to kind of show you how to do that. So here's our E. And that's why I like these letters. You kind of overlap this one on the H just a little bit. And then the L. And we don't even need any other bling on this. This is going to be perfect. So here's an L. And then here's our other L that I lost. But look at how cute this looks. And we didn't even have to color a full background. We only had to do the bridge. This one will go over top of the other L. And then the O will go over the L a little bit. So you have to kind of layer them up to fit on this background. So the O goes a little bit over the L. That way these letters can be really big, but they still fit on an A2 card, which I really like. So I'm just gonna press them down. Oh my goodness. You cover the nice part of that paper. Yeah. You don't have to. You can do a smaller one, but I kind of liked it like that because it didn't really feel like a full forest of the paper wasn't a full forest, so I kind of had a little bit of issue with that. You can just trim off anything that hangs over the edge. It's not a big deal. But I do want to use my white gel pen real quick before we go because I think it'll add just enough. So we need his little eyes for sure. There's a little string on his eye. My pen is running out of ink, which is a bummer. There we go. And then Tigger's little eye. We'll put a little bit of white gel pen on their nose. I'm going to put a little bit on his honey. And maybe some on his ears. Maybe we'll put a little on Tigger's hand. And maybe a little on his tail. And then we'll probably put a little bit in the water. I think it just helps with the flow of the water. You could cover up that black line if you really wanted to. But there we go. We have white in our water, and what do you think about that stone bridge? It's pretty cool, huh? Let me hold it up so you guys can see all the details. You see how cute that is? Now you could have just cut the top of the bridge off and then cut out the characters and put them behind. If you pop it up, you didn't necessarily have to mask it, but I like it all stuck together. But I even like the way this looks in the background too. Really gives it some dimension. It's kind of cool. I really like it. So you can mask it or not mask it. You can do it however you want, but you know, I see trolls in my future with this bridge. You like the stone technique? I mean, look how that looks. I really like how it came out. I'm super happy with it. And you can do that in any color. But the bricks I was telling you about that I did, I can show you what they look like because I have them right here. I knew I had them handy. So I used the same technique with these bricks. Can you kind of see it? How I put the colorless blender in there and textured every brick. It was a lot of fun, but this was a lot. This is 8.5 by 11. It was a lot of bricks. It took me a long time to do it, but you can use the same technique. But yes, I need trolls with this. You just wait. It's coming. This bridge totally reminded me of the Billy Goat Scruff, but what can I say? That is just how I felt. So one more quick recap. The hello words is from Whimsy Stamps. And this,
Did you color that? The page
I did. Yes, I colored the whole thing. Yeah. I'll let you see it. The whole thing. Yes, I did.
Did you draw it?
I did. I drew the whole background. And a friend of mine drew the frog, and then I drew everything else and colored it all in for her. This was a commission piece. Somebody commissioned me to do that for them. So, yeah. So the stamp set is called The Woods. And it has all the characters and even bees, but I didn't think the bees would stamp well on this glossy paper. See how the paper's glossy? So I didn't use the bees, but they would look super cute in there. And the bridge, all in the same set. So you can get all of it in the same set and then whatever sentiment you want to use. Look at Eeyore. Isn't he just the cutest? So stinking cute. Okay. So I will upload this to YouTube so you guys can watch it on the replay if you need to come back and check out the bridge. It will stay in the group, but only for 30 days, and then Facebook deletes it. But it will stay on YouTube, so you can go watch on YouTube. I will also add all the color combinations. All the markers that I used for the video, so you'll be able to reference that as well. And then I will see you guys on Tuesday and Thursday next week at 8 o'clock. So thank you for joining me. It was super fun. I love the idea. Thank you for the suggestion. And I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me. So have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Good night.